You don't know me, but I'm on TV, so you can trust me. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. Big Apple Week, all the M5 devices, M5 iPad Pro, MacBook Pro, and even Vision Pro were announced. We're going to talk about that, plus Apple TV Plus is now Apple TV on your Apple TV, in your Apple TV. Another AI chief has left for Meta from the Apple team, plus Spotify added teen accounts, Instagram did the same, Netflix is getting video, podcast, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Zapier, Masterclass, and Shopify, and of course you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joining me for our 100th episode is my friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
It's really good.
It's reaction time. Oh, I gotta click it. It's 100th episode. There we go.
You don't actually have to click it. You could just do what I did, and
I know, but I don't know all the. Jason did the hearts. Wait, let me get the balloons and confetti. Episode.
Wait, don't hit that one.
One. Jason's raining down thunderstorms over there, up in Michigan. It is our 100th episode, ladies and gentlemen. Which, if you missed our special episode with Austin Mann, you're probably wondering how did we get to 100 so fast? Because last week was episode 98. But we had a special interview with Austin Mann on Monday. You should check that out. It's in the feed. It's on YouTube. And it was very enlightening about photographic styles and the iPhone 17 Pro camera. But that makes this our triple-digit birthday, whatever it is. It's our 100th episode.
It's hard to say what it actually means.
Hard to say.
But it says episode 100 in Notion, so we're just going to go with that.
I know the number definitively because I create a folder in the primary tech folder for every episode. And so,
when we've done bonus episodes, we've counted those.
We've counted those.
We've done a handful of those for events and stuff. So
correct. So, but we've also been doing this for
less than 2 years.
Less than
almost
2 years.
2 years.
Almost 2 years. 2 years will be January. We launched the show. So we're getting close. But, well, congratulations, Jason. And thanks for joining me on this journey and for doing this with me. And it's been fun.
We get to talk. We've talked 100 times.
We've talked
more than 100 times, but we've recorded it 100 times.
There's probably 100 plus 100. Anyway, there's a lot of hours of us talking.
That's true.
So it's been good. So thank you all also for listening and watching out there. YouTube channel's at 3,000 subscribers. Even more listen to the audio version. Lots of you support the show. And I've been trying to send pins to many of you, and I'm going to get to that in the bonus episode follow up. But it's been awesome the last couple of years, and so we'll keep it going. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about because it's Apple Week. One quick 5-star review shout out. DG Leads from the USA says they share my Wi-Fi obsession. He's on the Unify system, HomeKit junkie for over 10 years. I guess you can be a HomeKit junkie for over 10 years. It's been that long, I guess.
Are you asking me? Because
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I used to, we'll get it. Always on display active, Apple Watch Ultra 3. So very cool. And leave us a voicemail. We had a couple listeners leave us a voicemail. We're going to get to that in the personal tech. Well, HomeKit. Do you remember your very first HomeKit device or smart home device? Can you remember, Barb?
Smart home device was definitely the Nest thermostat.
Right. See, I had an old house, and so I didn't do any like the thermostat stuff for a while. But the first one was your Nest thermostat.
I'm sure it was because we've had it for like ever since we moved into this house.
Okay. Well, I remember I never did like Google or Amazon home stuff. I was all in on HomeKit from the beginning. And one of the first devices you could get was an iDevices smart plug. It was the iDevices, and I think that brand's not around anymore. But the little smart plug, I put it on a lamp, and I could tell my phone to turn the light on and off, and it blew my mind. And I was hooked ever since.
HomeKit came out in June of 2014.
So, well, all right, yeah, 11 years. Also, I remember because I had an old house, I didn't have any neutral wires for my light switches. And whenever I tried to switch out a light switch, it was like moths would fly out of the wall, and it would just be it would be crazy. And the only brand at the time that would work with HomeKit and didn't require a neutral wire, can you guess what brand? Light switch?
Steven, I only know one brand of light switches. I have to look over. There's no. Is the Lutron.
That's it. That's the one. That's the
one.
Are
there others? Are there other brands of smart switches?
Now
we don't have to get into it, but I'm just curious. Yes.
Now Aqara has some no neutral wire required stuff, and I think maybe Eve does. But anyway, so yeah, Lutron switches were then some of my other first devices. So that was fun. And then the Ecobee thermostat came.
Yeah, but I mean, when we had a Nest thermostat, we did not at the time have a smart home anything else. It was just that was by far the
Just
first
the
device, and it connected to Wi-Fi, and you could look at it on your app. And then probably after that, I don't know the chronology of when we got one of those Nest Home Hub Maxes. We've got a bunch of light bulbs. We've got the switches. We bought some HomePods in there, which I guess are technically smart home devices ish. Except for that, I turn off the ability for them to listen, so they're not, so that they can't control basically anything. So,
well, yeah, you can tap and hold on it and still talk to it.
I don't ever walk up to them to do that.
I know. No one does that. Before we get into all the M5 stuff, did you know the movie quote? You don't know me, but I'm on TV, so you can trust me. This is a movie I have seen.
It is a movie you've seen.
It is
it
an animated
movie. Is it okay? I think it's probably one of. Yes. I think it's one of the Lego movies.
You are correct. Again, somehow it is the Lego movie, the first one.
The actual first one. Okay.
The actual first one. Yeah.
It's the character that's like, yeah. I think cause she's trying to she's sending out a message. What's her name, Lucy or whatever?
Yes.
Trying to convince everyone that they. Yeah.
Very good. Yes. Well, you guessed for the 100th episode.
It's Lego, man. Like, come on.
I know. I know. You got a special connection to Lego. You've been there.
I've been there twice.
You've been to the headquarters twice.
That's true.
All right. Apple, they dropped a bunch of stuff, Jason. All the M5 chip, brand new chip.
They're holding it and it fell. They just dropped it all.
They just dropped it all. I'll put my little video recap of the M5 iPad Pro, the M5 MacBook Pro, and the M5 Apple Vision Pro. You know, there were a lot of rumors. I've seen people on social media saying like, oh, Apple's not working on the next Vision Pro. And I don't know if you would call this like a next generation Apple Vision Pro. It is a chip swap. And that chip seems to allow, well, some other features. We'll get to that in a second. But
it also seems to be heavier. The M5 chip seems to be heavier, apparently.
It is heavier, unfortunately. Not one of the devices you want to get heavier, while all the other ones get lighter.
Do you think the 150 grams is just the strap? Probably not, because that's like a third of a pound. So I don't think that top strap is the third of a pound. Maybe, though. How heavy do you think that strap is?
It can't be that heavy, because I have the Solo Knit strap, and I mean, like, it's not insignificant, but it's not that much. Oh, Jason has his Apple Vision Pro right here.
He's trying to figure out how heavy this part is if you doubled it.
Well, it's smaller too. Anyway,
okay,
we'll get to the Vision Pro. We'll get to the Vision Pro.
I think you were talking about it, so I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah. But let's start with the M5 iPad Pro. I feel like of all the devices, this one is interesting. Some of the rumors were that the new M5 iPad Pro or the next iPad Pro would have dual cameras on the front, so you could hold it in landscape or portrait. Not the case.
Yeah, that's the weirdest. Okay, no one needs that.
It's an odd rumor. I mean, I understand, I guess, but no. No. So no dual front-facing cameras. The camera system's totally the same. The display system is the same. The big story here, and the only device of the three that was announced this week to get the N1 chip, which is the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread chip, and the C1X cellular modem. One day we hope to see that in a MacBook Pro, but not yet. So it actually got both of those, meaning the new M5 iPad Pro has Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. Again, the only device of the three to get those updates this week. You get more RAM at lower storage. So rather than 8 gigs, it's 12 gigs, even if you go for the lower, like 256, 512 gigabyte SSDs. And you still go up to 2 terabytes. You can fast charge the iPad now, which I think is pretty cool. You can get 50% in 30 minutes. And it supports 4K 120 external displays and even up to 6K 60 hertz external displays. And so we'll talk about the MacBook Pro and Vision Pro in a second, but it seems like this one got the most little bumps. I mean, these are all spec bumps, but there are a lot of bumps.
It's interesting, though, because the story with the iPhone Air was that they picked the C1X and the N1 because those were like essential for building that phone and getting enough battery life in it. But the M5 iPad Pro has the exact same battery life. So I'm curious, like, is the M5 just more power hungry than the M4? Is there a smaller battery in there? I mean, the weight seems to be the same. It's just interesting to me that the story Apple told with the iPhone Air was that we had to design these things in order to maximize the space and the efficiency and the battery life, and yet they put the same stuff in an iPad and it made no difference.
Well, they do say, I'm going to read from Apple Newsroom article here. Cellular models of iPad Pro feature C1X, a cellular modem designed by Apple that brings users up to 50% faster cellular data performance and for active cellular users, up to 30% less energy usage than iPad Pro with M4. Wording there, it's not really saying better battery life. It's saying less energy consumption.
Well, and what they do, though, this is interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because they measure battery life by continuous video, right?
Right.
Which hypothetically, they're measuring that, and it's on Wi-Fi, and it requires no cellular data.
Right. Yeah, so anyway, but the N1 chip with Thread, Bluetooth 6, and Wi-Fi 7, and Jennifer Toohey at The Verge, who is the smart home, she covers all the smart home stuff there, she did mention, interesting, that chip, the N1 specifically, has Thread built in. That's also in the iPhone Air. I believe, not in the 17 Pro, though. See, this is why I didn't want to turn on reactions.
Yeah, you probably should have turned off your reactions
now. I got these bubbles now showing up. But the iPad used to be able to be used as a HomeKit hub just by itself. So if you didn't have a HomePod or an Apple TV, you could go into your iPad and toggle on Home Hub, and then it could be your Home Hub device. You could set up and do all your HomeKit stuff. And that was removed as a feature, I believe, in iOS 17 or 18. You can't use your iPad as a Home Hub anymore. So interesting, they would put Thread back. I don't think they're going to make it a Home Hub again, but it should make setting up HomeKit devices easier, maybe actually faster response time when you're using your iPad to control your HomeKit home. So anyway.
Well, and the advantage of having a Thread radio isn't that it has to be the one that controls it. It could be extending a mesh network, right? Like Thread radios can communicate to each other passively, even if the device is not the one. So like if you have an iPad somewhere in your home, your Apple TV, not to be confused with the other Apple TVs, is the device that is your home hub, then, but you're trying to control something that's far away, right on the network, that Thread radio can just bounce across devices. I think that's true.
Yes. Yeah. You need a Thread border router to set up Thread devices. And that's the question of like, can it act as that? We don't really know yet. But anyway, you got Thread in there. And people like external display support on iPad. I saw someone on social media asking, I wish they did dual displays on iPad. That's
if only they made a device that could support more than one external display.
Well, the one interesting part is the M4 MacBook Air can support dual external displays.
Right.
And so it doesn't seem like it is a chip limitation. It is a software limitation, just that iPad OS. While you can manage lots of windows now, not on multiple external displays. So, that's fine. Also, the M5 iPad Pro, we have M5 MacBook Pro. This is just the base model. Interestingly, no M5 Pro or M5 Max chips were announced, nor were those laptops updated. So we do kind of have this weird interim period where we have an M4 MacBook Air, an M5 14-inch MacBook Pro, and then an M4 Pro and M4 Max MacBook Pro. A little weird there. Plus, we still have the iMac and the Mac Mini, and those haven't been updated yet. But the M5 chip, which they talk about how there's a neural accelerator on every core, which I don't know exactly what that means. But the next generation GPU has a neural accelerator in each core, delivering up to 3.5 times the AI performance and up to 1.6 faster graphics. So AI tasks, whether it's third-party app, you're doing something in DaVinci Resolve, it's going to be faster. And so the iPad Pro got those benefits, as does this MacBook Pro. But this MacBook Pro does not get like the N1 chip. So this is still Wi-Fi 6E, still Bluetooth 5.3. Like it didn't get those newer chips for wireless connectivity. It just has the M5. And then everything else, like display is exactly the same. The ports are the same. All that's the same. Oh, we do get a faster SSD performance. So there you go.
Yeah,
yes.
Twice. Like 2 times faster SSD performance. And that's true on the iPad as well. The iPad gets the same faster and greater memory bandwidth. It's pretty clear that they are positioning these as devices that you're going to do AI things. And people laugh because like no one wants to do Apple's AI stuff, but that's fine because that's not what they're talking about, right? What they're talking about is the ability to run other local models on these devices for, and again, this is a MacBook Pro. It is the base MacBook Pro, and it does seem strange, but they've actually done this before, right? The M1 MacBook Pro came out before the redesign, right? The 13-inch MacBook Pro had an M1 in it. You could get it that way. And I believe they did. So sad. R.I.P. Touch Bar. They also, I think did it with the M2. Maybe they kept didn't they keep that 13-inch around for the M2 generation?
Well, yeah.
And then they updated that one with the M2, and then they came out with the 14 and 16 later. So like they have actually done this before. It's just seems weird because they're doing it in the same form factor, but they're not. But I don't think that the 16-inch, first of all, has ever had the base. I think when you buy a 16-inch MacBook Pro, doesn't it automatically start with the M4 Pro, for example? I don't think you can get just the base M4 in a MacBook Pro. I could be wrong.
That is good. No, I think you might be right. We'll also say the M5 MacBook Pro now you can get 4 terabytes of storage. Previously, 2 terabytes was the maximum you could get without going to like the Pro and Max chips. But I'm curious.
But
now,
you can still only get 32 gigs of unified memory. So basically, the specs of everything, we now know exactly what you're going to be able to get in a MacBook Air. A MacBook Air with 32 gigs of memory and a 4 terabyte hard drive would be insane. So good.
Right now, the M4 MacBook Air, you can get 2 terabyte storage and 24 gigs of unified memory. And you are correct.
No, you can get 32. Did you say that? Did you say
on the
24?
MacBook Air?
Yeah, you can get. I have one sitting right here. It's got 32 gigs
of memory on the MacBook Air.
Yes.
First of all, hold on.
Yours has that too.
No,
you bought one with 32 gigs. Look at the MacBook Air.
I'm about to look at that. I just wanted to say, first of all, you were right about the 16-inch. The 16-inch only has M4 Pro or M4 Max chip options, so you can't get that with regular. You can't get the 16-inch with just an M4 or M5. With the MacBook Air, I'm gonna go here to the biggest one. So you can get up to 32. I don't know if I did that.
You did. You maxed it out, dude.
Did I max it out? All right, fine.
If not, Steven's going to order one this afternoon.
No, my M4 MacBook Air is fine. It's totally fine.
It's amazing.
So that was the M5 MacBook Pro. And I guess we should touch on this here because people were saying it is wild that in the EU and the UK, when you buy a MacBook Pro now, you don't get a power adapter.
I don't like the way that you just said that.
You tell me how it is.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
When you order one in the EU, you have the option of whether or not you want a power adapter.
I see.
So, and this is, people are like, why is Apple chimping out on power adapters? And obviously Apple has been removing them from boxes for years now, right? If you buy an iPhone, it doesn't come with a power adapter in it. I think the iPads still do. I think
so.
In the US, in most places in the world, the MacBook Pros still do, laptops, whatever. But when the EU released, made law, whatever they call it over there, what they call the common charger, right?
Okay.
One common charger.
Yeah. One charger to rule them all.
Yes, that's literally what it's called. Almost.
That's the law.
I think it's called the one common charger rule law regulation.
Yes.
And this was when the iPhone 15 had USB-C, right? The one law to rule them all required Apple to put USB-C. In fact, it required everyone to put USB-C on a whole multitude of different types of devices. It's a charging standard there. But the other part of it that really no one paid attention to was that consumers had to be given the option to buy devices without a charging brick in case you already have 74,000 USB-C charging bricks at your house and you don't want one. You had to be given the option to not have them. So Apple is doing that. Apple is giving you the option in the EU not to have a charger in the box. But if you still want one, you can get the 70 watt or the 96 watt, whatever the two options are for the MacBook Pro. It just is going to cost you I think it's $60 for the 70 watt charger. I don't know because this was hard for me to figure out because I had to go onto my VPN, pretend like I was in Denmark or somewhere else, and then log onto go to Apple's website and then try to do a conversion from like kroners or whatever the heck currency it was. So it took me a while to figure this out. But this is all based on the EU's requirements. And so people are really mad at Apple. People are really mad about stuff. And I just say, be careful what you ask for because your crazy government over there in the EU is dictating policy and product decisions. I don't think this is controversial, Stephen.
Okay.
I don't think that anyone disagrees. I know people in the EU are like, oh, but Apple has too much control. Yes, but I think it's a lot better for the companies to make these types of decisions and for consumers to decide, I don't like this, than for governments to be doing it because this is what happens. And of course, from what I could tell, you will pay the same amount of money for an M4 MacBook Pro with a charger in the box as you pay for an M5 MacBook Pro without a charger in the box.
Correct.
And people are like, well, that's that's crazy. I actually think it's totally justified. And I know people will call me an Apple shill, whatever. Like, I think my record is pretty clear. I'm happy to call them out when I think they do dumb stuff. And I'm also happy to say this makes total sense because it's more work for Apple. It's another SKU. They have to package them differently. Like, I think this is just what you get if you ask for these types of things.
That's interesting. Well, even here in the US, if you wanted to get an M5 MacBook Pro, you do get the 70 watt in the box. You can pay more for the 96 watt if you wanted faster charging, or if
you should not, by the way. You should not pay more for the 96 watt charger. You should just buy something from Anker or Ugreen or EcoFlow or someone else. Like, seriously. Like,
yeah, because
I have a 240 watt adapter that's half the size of that, and it will probably burn my house down eventually, but I have good homeowners insurance.
Whenever I log into Amazon, I now have a thing in my orders tab where it's like, you've ordered some things that have been recalled. Do you want to see? And I'm like, no, I don't want to see.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to see. Ignorance is bliss.
I do think Anker probably has the record right now, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying, if you're making really small charging electronic devices, there's a real small margin for error, and it's real easy to step over it. But seriously, if you, they sent me this. This is from EcoFlow. This is a 140 watt adapter that's got 3 USB-Cs. Like, it's in a USB-A, which I don't understand why it's there. But like, just buy one of these. For
sure. I will say there was one brand. I don't want to say the brand because they did sponsor a video coming eventually. I guess I could, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show the brand name if you could see it. Can you see that?
I don't even know what you're doing there.
Okay, good.
That looks like something that the dentist used to take x-rays of your mouth. They put it in your mouth, say bite down.
This is one of their chargers. You might recognize it. But anyway, they have a car charger that they sent me, and I put it in my car. It was supposed to be like in a sponsor video. And then they sent me an email. They were like, you know what? We want to do a wallet instead because we're having some issues with the car charger. And I was like, should I not use it? Because it's been in my car and I've been putting my phone on it. What's the deal? And so now I've been a little leery of that, but nothing.
Anyway, you don't get a charger in the box. I wrote about it for this morning because I do think that this is what you get when you ask the government. I just don't think the government should be making product decisions at all. Like, Apple would have eventually put a USB-C port on the iPhone. That was inevitable. I think they probably should have done it sooner than they did. I just also think it's fair to say that the EU should not have been the reason that they did it.
Right. All right. Last M5 thing announced this week, and we didn't get multiple days of announcements. This is so exciting. The M5 Apple Vision Pro. This is so interesting because, there were so many rumors like, well, Apple's working on like the Apple Vision Air, and that's what we're going to see. I feel like Mark Gurman said multiple times that we would see something like that this fall and then retracted it. But anyway, I'm not going to go do the legwork to see. But anyway, this is a revised Apple Vision Pro, revised in the lightest way. They put an M5 chip in there, still uses the R1 chip, which if you remember, the Apple Vision Pro has like a proprietary chip for like rendering stuff, and that's the R1.
It's like the real-time processor, which is basically the pass-through video, which is kind of important. But
the R1 chip has stayed the same. It just has the M5 chip. But that M5 chip allows for 120 hertz refresh on those OLED displays in there, which means the first Apple Vision Pro with an M2 only went up to 100 hertz. So you get a little faster refresh rate at times. They said they've redone the battery, so you get more battery life. They said like 3 hours of video watching as opposed to 2.5, so a little better battery life. Also, the 10% more pixels can be rendered on those micro OLED displays thanks to the M5. I don't think the displays themselves are different. It's the same micro OLED displays in the thing, but the M5 chip can just render 10% more. And part of that is, if you have not used a Vision Pro, you're not familiar, foveated rendering, meaning it's only rendering the pixels in the highest quality that you're looking at. That's why, like, if you like in your periphery see other parts of what's going on in the Vision Pro, it's not super sharp or clear because it's only rendering what you're looking at. But it can render 10% more. And I think that would help. And like they said in their newsroom article, especially with Mac virtual displays, which I had people asking me on social media, like, is the Apple Vision Pro really useful? Like, is it actually useful? And it's like, well, I have used Mac virtual display, especially when traveling, and it is pretty useful. It's a little weird because if you're used to something like the studio display and like it's clear everywhere, like it's rendered, all the pixels are there perfectly wherever you look on your Mac display, your studio display or whatever monitor you use. And it's a little weird to have the virtual Mac display, especially if you do like the ultra wide. And if you're looking at a window and then try to look out of the corner of your eye at a different window you have, like it's blurry because it's not rendered clearly. So this 10% more rendered pixels, you'll have more clarity, at least 10% more. And so the virtual display benefits, no Wi-Fi or connectivity chip change. So the Apple Vision Pro did not get the N1 chip. So it still has Wi-Fi 6, not even 6E, Bluetooth 5.3. And interestingly, no trade-in. You can't trade in your first Apple Vision Pro, which I think is one of the first Apple devices. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no trade-in option. Like nothing. Apple says you could recycle it if you want. That's it. Which is...
I think there's two things. I don't think that I don't think people who bought an M2 Vision Pro are buying an M5. This is like not an upgrade to a product. This is just a revision that they're going to like. This is not the difference between. I don't know. I'm struggling to think of the way to explain this, except for they are not targeting people who have a Vision Pro with a better Vision Pro. They are just going to continue targeting people who don't have Vision Pros. And it's just, if you happen to buy one now, it's better, right? In some way,
yeah.
There is literally no reason to upgrade. And I cannot imagine anyone who has a Vision Pro who is like, I want to trade this one in, and I'm going to why don't you just put it on eBay for $900 or something like that? Because that's basically what Apple would have maybe given you as a trade-in. I bet you that if you could sell the Vision Pro aftermarket for better than you would have gotten anyway.
That's true with everything. I mean, pretty much any Apple product, you will get more value, more money for selling it privately than you would trading it into Apple.
For a 1 or 2 year old product, that's always true. But if I have a drawer full of random, I got a couple Apple Watches, some stuff, and I'd rather just walk in and put a pile of old Apple Watches and be like, could I get an Ultra 3 plus $100 or something? You know what I mean?
Sure,
that's a better deal for that kind of thing. But you're right. But the Vision Pro,
there's a flyby happening.
I don't know. Is that you or me? Anyway, I just think that the Vision Pro, this was literally the minimum they could possibly do. In fact, I would argue the M5 is an improvement over the M2. But the M2 is such a solid chip that if you have an M2 anything, you probably don't need to update yet, right? Unless it's the Mac Studio or something. Sure. The bigger news here is obviously the strap. I'm serious about that.
I do. Yeah, I agree. We'll talk about it. I just want to mention there are users like Sigmund Judge on social media, other Apple Vision Pro kind of creators were very much like, if there was a trade-in option for the first one, I would have done it. And I think the enthusiast crowd who really love Apple Vision Pro, Farouk on YouTube, he really loves Apple Vision Pro. I think some people would have taken advantage of that trade-in, and not that it would have been tons of sales for Apple, but I would have been interested. It would have had to have been a significant amount for me to actually jump to the M5. To be clear, I did not pre-order an M5 Apple Vision Pro, and I don't know what the trade-in would have had to have been. So, did you, Jason?
No, I didn't. I still haven't paid for the one that I'm using. So
Jason did not steal it, by the way.
No,
he still has a review
I just have a review unit.
Over a year.
It's possible that technically that qualifies as stealing it, but I'm going to send it back. There's
one day.
And if anyone from Apple texts me or emails me, I will send it back to you today. But if you don't, I'm just going to keep using it because I do. I use it almost every day. But there's nothing about my experience using it that I feel would be better. And even the battery life is, because I don't wear mine on a plane. I'm not a crazy person, so I just don't. I'm not going to.
Yeah,
anyway,
the battery life, and I literally bought 2 batteries when I got the Apple Vision Pro because I was like, I'm going to be double fisting these batteries because I'm going to be using it all the time. I even got the Belkin belt carrier for the battery.
He's going to carry a battery around like it's an old Nextel phone or something.
It's literally that. Not once, Jason, not once have I ever even put the battery in that thing. I took it out of the case while I was unboxing stuff on the live stream, and it has sat in a drawer ever since. I don't even know where it is. So anyway, that was the Apple Vision Pro. But the biggest story is the strap. You get a new strap in the box with the Apple Vision Pro, namely the new dual knit band strap. It's a new strap. It's basically the solo knit band material, which has the ribbed band, the tightening knob. And previously, the solo knit was just around the back of the head. Well, now it goes around the back and around the top. It does look like the back is a little smaller, like they kind of shortened the back strap, and then you have the top strap. And what's funny is Belkin literally made this. So if you go to the accessories for Apple Vision Pro, the Belkin head strap is still there for $50, and I got it. and it was meant to be the same thing, like an over-the-head strap. But the Belkin one, it was okay. It was Velcro, and like it did fit with the Solo knit strap. Like it was fine, but this new strap looks really good. The knob is actually like you can adjust both the top and back strap with the one knob by like pulling the knob in and out. And that looks really cool and would be easier to adjust. So yeah, I ordered this immediately.
Yeah, because Steven has not met an Apple accessory that he could pass up. Sometimes he doesn't actually use them, but he will absolutely 100% buy them.
I never bought the AA battery charger. I'll give you that.
Okay. And no one even knows what you're talking about. But the Belkin one is fine. The Belkin strap was fine. Like this is, I think, basically the Belkin strap is essentially the strap we used when we demoed these at WWDC.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was this. It was not what they're selling now.
Well, no, because Apple included the dual strap with the first Vision Pro.
No, but I think it was this. I don't think the dual strap is not what we demoed because the dual strap doesn't have the nice
big
back. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have the big.
What we demoed was the back plus a top strap, which I'm pretty sure is the Belkin strap.
Okay.
I'm almost positive it's the same thing. It's not what this new one is. So essentially Apple was like, fine, if we're going to do it, let's over engineer it as much as we possibly can. And that's great. Is it worth $99 for someone who uses it all the time and doesn't find the, like I would say get the Belkin one for $50. If you already have a Vision Pro and you already have the back strap, you should be fine with it. This will probably be more comfortable. I just never found that there's any kind of a problem with the top, because really what the top strap just does is it takes a little bit of the weight off your face.
Which goes a long way, especially if you're going to be wearing it.
Especially since it's heavier.
Well, and that's the thing. Yes, the new one is heavier.
I should have measured this though with the top strap on it and to see like, because I'm not convinced that I'm sure there's a little bit more battery in there. Maybe I just don't think the M5 is that much heavier than the M2 and nothing else has changed about this. So I wonder, I bet you some of it's the strap.
Just the strap. I will say Christian Seelig, developer, maker of Apollo, the Reddit app, he said, with the Vision Pro getting the dual headband, just wish they'd fully commit and do the Vision Pro hat. This is hilarious. He did a little mock-up here of do a knit hat.
It's honestly not a terrible idea.
Not a terrible idea, honestly. It's got 300,000 views. That's pretty funny. I met Christian Seelig at WWDC. He's a great dude. But anyway, so I got the strap. Funny thing is, the strap is literally, it is $100, the dual knit strap, as is the solo knit strap is also still $100. I don't understand that. I don't know how you can get $100 and get two straps or $100 and get one strap, but that's Apple pricing. It's, whatever you want. Last Vision Pro news before we get to all the other topics. That is Apple and non-Apple this week. Apple did announce that there's going to be some NBA games that are going to be streamed live in Apple Immersive to Apple Vision Pro. And these are going to be Lakers games, a selection of Los Angeles Lakers game. Still very unclear how you can consume these. It says that the first game streaming by early next year, so 2026, it will be available through the forthcoming Spectrum Sportsnet app for Vision Pro. And it is not made clear whether you'll be able to see that game in immersive in the NBA app. Because like NBA app has an Apple Vision Pro app. It was one of the first apps that Apple would show off with the first Vision Pro with like the multiple games at a time and like the 3D like augmented reality court in front of you. But this one is like, I guess, just the Sportsnet app. But also it's going to be the Ursa Cine Immersive Live camera from Blackmagic Design. That's going to be what's streaming the game. But to be fair, like this is what a lot of people were saying. And what I said, like this is the kind of content that would entice people to try a Vision Pro or maybe even get one. Like my father-in-law is the target audience for this. If he could watch NBA games, which he's like the NBA, he has the NBA League Pass for the year, all of that. If he could watch basketball games in immersive on Apple Vision Pro, he might, and he does not like technology, he might wear an Apple Vision Pro for this. Whether he would buy one, I don't know, but he'll ask to borrow mine for sure because it's just sitting around. So,
because you're not using it, so he might as well. Listen, this is one of those, the most revealing thing about this is one, no one knows exactly who's going to be able to watch this because you have to have this app that doesn't actually exist yet, which means, and you have to be subscribed to Spectrum. Because that is, and they have a local network for like the Lakers and sports. So like this is just telling you how most people don't think about this, but how complicated sports rights are because it's like, why can't the NBA app just, I mean, there's a lot of logistics. You can't just say, why don't they stream them in the NBA app? Because first of all, you have to have cameras literally at the venues to be streaming this kind of thing. And the NBA app probably doesn't have the rights to just doesn't have the rights to do this sort of thing. Those rights belong to Spectrum or to whoever else. And so there's no, like, what people want is like, hey, just give me this wonderful thing no matter when I turn on the TV. And that's why like Apple can do more things with like MLS, because it just owns all the rights to MLS. Why? Because it's like the thing that very few people are watching in that way. People go to the games, but watching them is different. The same thing's true with like Apple's bidding on the F1 rights. You know, it would want to do some really interesting things with that, and if it owns all the rights, and the difference is F1, there's 20 races. How many basketball games are? Each team plays like 84 or something. I don't even remember anymore, but like times 30 teams, it's like, there's a lot of games. So the encouraging thing though, is that if there is anyone who has the ability to maybe move this in a direction where it's a little bit more customer friendly, companies like Apple, Amazon, the big players who have lots of money and lots of reach and audience, maybe the sports world would get a little bit better, because there's so many times when I'll turn on the television and be like, oh, let's watch the Tigers game. I mean, they're done now, so you can't watch Tigers games. But like, it's like, oh, this is blacked out. It's like, whatever, I'm paying for Hulu. I can watch this anywhere in the world. Nope. It's blocked out in my market. So.
No. So it's interesting. I mean, I would love to try it. I don't know if I'll be able to actually.
You're going to get a media pass for Spectrum to just watch it. Like, it's going to be really complicated.
Well, that's the thing. Like my father-in-law's league pass, I would sign into that if that will work.
It won't. See, League Pass isn't going to do you anything. You have to be a subscriber.
But did they say that explicitly? Did they say you can't?
You have to be a Spectrum subscriber.
All right. No, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not doing that. Okay. Well, somebody let us know who's a Spectrum subscriber in California, and that you could do that. Last thing I would say before we move on to other things, with the sports and streaming thing, we mentioned last week that Apple used iPhone to actually, in some of the camera shots for the MLB Friday Night Baseball, this was kind of like the look. And you'll see underneath, that is the Blackmagic Pro camera dock. I think it's the official name. I just want to say I actually got it. I actually have the Blackmagic Pro camera dock right here.
Yeah.
And I'm making a video about it and different like iPhone filming setups. This thing is like, well, it's $300. Like, it's pretty pricey, but it's also like very pro. Like, one 90-degree angle connector into your iPhone. You get two USB 3.2 ports, so you can record to an external SSD. I tested that. That worked great. You do have to plug it into like dedicated power, but it does charge your phone and does all the things. HDMI out, which is wild, and SDI connectors, which if you're a video production head, you know these are SDIs. That's for Genlock in and time code in. And I had the crazy idea, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, I was like, maybe I'll get like 30 of these and 30 iPhone Pros and do the like bullet time shot with my kid, and that video will go viral. And I'm like, that's going to cost $1 million.
Yeah, if it doesn't go viral, you're going to have to sell your house.
And then I don't know if I can return all that stuff. So I didn't do that. Also, it has an 1/8-inch audio in and out. So you can actually like monitor the audio going to your iPhone from here. Like, it's a pretty cool little device. I mean, I don't have reason to like keep this. It's $300. But if you're like pro filming iPhone stuff and you want to do Genlock, I mean, even in like live production environments, I think of like houses of worship, you could technically use now iPhones in your setup with that HDMI out. You could even like send it wirelessly using like Teradex to send the video signal to like a switcher, and you could have like iPhone as one of your live cameras that you could switch to in real time. Like, this is pretty wild. So I don't know. That's cool. I like that stuff. I like that kind of stuff. I was in live production for a while. I know SDI cables. So I said SD cables, and I was suddenly like, SD cables. I know they're SDI. I used to, anyway.
We believe you. It's okay.
Thank you, Jason. All right, we got to talk about Apple TV and Apple TV on Apple TV, and also Spotify and Instagram with new parental controls. Netflix is getting video podcasts. Netflix, if you're listening, we'll sign a deal right now. Not for rights, but if you just want to put us on Netflix, we'll do it.
Yeah, but there's a catch.
Oh, what's the catch?
You can't show your show on YouTube.
Is that really the catch?
You can't publish the entire show on. Yeah, of course it's the catch. Netflix and YouTube are the two. YouTube is Netflix's biggest competitor.
All right, that's coming up.
But give us enough money, and sorry, YouTube.
Listen, enough money right now. I will reveal what we make through YouTube AdSense right now. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to go to our YouTube studio. From YouTube, from all of our views, we made about $90 in the last month. $90, which, speaking of money, this episode is brought to you by Zapier. Listen, can I be like totally real for a second? And I don't even know if we've talked about this, Jason. Like the difference between like what ads make for a podcast our size versus actually, my son just walked out on the front porch and my doorbell camera caught him. And I was like, oh no, the FedEx guy. Jason and I are watching for FedEx.
Did your son get a job at FedEx? If not, tell him to be quiet.
Like making money in a podcast is difficult. And honestly, I think the most consistent and most we make is from our members who actually support us. And so for those of you who actually support us in Apple Podcast and through join.primarytech.fm, thank you for that. YouTube AdSense is not how you make money podcasting, unless you're huge, unless you're like Diary of a CEO and you have millions of views per thing, which maybe we'll get there. It's only our 100th episode.
Hey, we're working on it. Listen, we're working the long tail, Stephen. It takes a long time, a really long time to do this.
It does, but we're sticking with it. So, yes. So let's talk about who this episode is brought to you by, which is Zapier. And honestly, I love that this is a sponsor because, I mean, I use Zapier all the time. I literally use Zapier for this podcast and for our community because Zapier can automate so many things. I've actually been using Zapier for years. Every podcast I've ever hosted, I have set up automations through Zapier because it can pull from RSS feeds. It can communicate to multiple, like both triggers and endpoints. And we literally use it in our Primary Tech Circle community to automate things like my videos and Jason articles going there directly. And so with Zapier, you can do just a ton of stuff. I'll just tell you exactly what we do. So like the RSS feeds for Jason's articles, I can literally format every article, the title, pull the image, the link, and it's posted in our Circle community under Jason's articles. I do the same for my videos because you can do that through a YouTube channel. There's like a hidden RSS feed. And you can automatically post videos into Circle. You can send things to email. You can even automate some smart home devices. And Zapier just allows me to those tasks that would be tedious and I have to do every time an article or video is posted. Zapier can just take care of all of that and automate all of it. So that's how it's improved my day-to-day. But you could use Zapier to streamline your RevOps, your marketing, your sales, IT, HR. Zapier also works with Slack, and I've used that in workplaces. So like my YouTube videos will go to a Slack channel for work. So anytime a YouTube video is published, I don't have to manually copy and paste the link or think about where to put it. Zapier can take care of all of that. Zapier is how you bring the power of AI to your work, not just talk about it. And with Zapier's AI orchestration platform, you can bring the power of AI to any workflow. Connect top AI models like ChatGPT and Claude to the tools your team already uses so you can add AI exactly where you need it, whether that's AI-powered workflows, autonomous agents, customer chatbot, or something else. Zapier is for everyone, tech expert or not, and it is very easy to build those zaps and automations. I've been doing it for years. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, no AI hype, just results. Teams have already automated over 300 million AI tasks using Zapier, and so if you're ready to join them, get started for free. And it is free. You can create 3 zaps just for free. And I just get in there and try it out. You could go there by visiting zapier.com/primary. That's zapier.com/primary. Create some free zaps. Try it out. I think you'll love it. Zapier has been a huge help for me over the years. Our thanks to Zapier for sponsoring this episode and our friends at Masterclass. We've talked about Masterclass before. Masterclass is where you can go to learn from the best, learn so many different things, whether it's acting, whether it's music, DJing. I watched a whole series of Questlove talking about DJ and history of hip hop, and it's just awesome. So you can learn about so many things. And if you're into photography, there's amazing photographers on there. Chris Voss is one of my favorite classes on there because he talks about negotiation and communication, helpful in so many different aspects. What were some of the master classes you saw, Jason? I know you had seen some before.
Aaron Sorkin, the West Wing newsroom guy. Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin's great.
Lewis Hamilton. Yeah.
Hans Zimmer and Yo-Yo Ma, they're always the two that I recommend. And I've watched the Hans Zimmer one actually a couple times because I just really, I mean, I love his music. But it's so cool just to see his like studio behind the scenes and all of that. And it's something that even my wife and I enjoy doing, especially with Yo-Yo Ma, music and creativity. And that's Masterclass is where you can go to do all of that. You could change your life for the better if you want to learn a new skill, or if you just want to go and see the kind of the actors, the musicians, the chefs, Gordon Ramsay's in there, that you love in their element, talking about and teaching the things. And there's nothing like gaining a fresh perspective from the experts who've seen it all and have the wisdom to prove it. And we just mentioned a bunch of courses that we have done to do it. And so Masterclass, and I also love it because you could use the iPhone app. You can go between video and audio, so you can listen to a class like it's a podcast. You can also watch it, Masterclass app on Apple TV, on the web, wherever you want to watch it and see it, you can do that. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. Plans start at $10 a month. Billed annually, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. And with Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest schedules. And again, those are just some of the ones that we've mentioned too. So classes really make a difference. 3 in 4 surveyed members feel inspired every time they watch Masterclass. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. So right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/primarytech. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/primarytech. One more time, masterclass.com/primarytech. The link is also in the show notes. You can click it there. Thanks to Masterclass for sponsoring this episode. And finally, Shopify. I've built lots of websites on Shopify. Honestly, all the sponsors this week, I'm thankful for all of them because I used all of them regularly over the years and they're all great. So I could honestly speak from the personal experience for all of these. But Shopify, if you want to make an e-commerce website, you want to sell something online, you need a web presence, maybe you don't even have a website yet, Shopify is the way to do it. I've built websites on lots of different platforms, and Shopify makes it easy whether you're selling digital products, physical products. You need all the integrations for things like shipping, which I'm going to talk about in the bonus episode, how difficult shipping can be. Well, Shopify can make it easy. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands that are just getting started. I've done my own merch through Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. And accelerate your content creation, Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. You can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And the best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. So turn your big business idea into money with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/primary. Go to shopify.com/primary. You can learn there. Shopify.com/primary. Also in the show notes below. Our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. All right. Apple TV and Apple TV on Apple TV.
It's fine, Stephen. It's fine.
I was joking. I did like 18 jokes about this because it was funny to make jokes about it. But I honestly agree. Like, anytime someone was going to say Ted Lasso or Severance or mention any Apple TV show, that people would just say it's on Apple TV.
And no one was confused about what that means.
No one said the plus ever.
Also, no one said, oh, do you mean I have to go get a streaming box? Because most people don't actually know that that's a thing you could buy.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like the Apple TV app is on every smart TV now. You can get it everywhere. So, but what did you mean by this in your article? You said Apple quietly put every streaming service on notice.
Okay, so let me just say two things. I wrote 2 articles about this 2 days in a row. I wrote an article the day that they published it, and then I wrote an article the next day because after I published this article, Eddie Q actually explained, yeah, I mean, we were just feeling the vibes, and so we so get to that.
The explanation was, we just decided.
Yeah.
That's in the Mac Rumors article.
We're just going to do it. He's like, we're just going to do it. We had a feeling, and his point was no one was calling it that anyway. But my thing that I was basically saying is that like the focus here is the streaming service, right? The device is a way you can, but the fact that they put the Apple TV app on all the smart TVs, which I have feelings about that I think we're going to talk about later.
Yes.
Okay. Smart TVs, stay tuned to that. They want to highlight the streaming. Apple TV is the platform that you watch great content on, and whether that's on their box, whether it's on a TV, none of that stuff matters. And up until now, Apple TV Plus has basically just been kind of like this little fun side project so that Apple has something nice to talk about when it talks about services revenue, so that they don't have to basically say it's Candy Crush whales and Google search money, right? Like that's what it is. It's App Store commissions and it's Google search money. But they want to talk about Ted Lasso and Shrinking and,
Prestige
For All
television.
Mankind and The Morning Show and Severance and whatever. That's what they want you to think that money is from. But they're essentially, when I say they're putting everyone on notice, it's like, actually, we kind of want to just focus on this streaming service. And that is Apple TV. That is the thing that Apple cares about. And I feel like that's a potential problem because it's not gonna be a problem for Netflix. It's not gonna be a problem for YouTube. It's a problem, and it's probably not gonna be a problem for Disney Plus because they basically own everything that's not on Netflix, right? That anyone cares about. And so, but if you're like HBO Max, if you're Peacock, if you're Paramount Plus, if you're one of those, and I wouldn't put HBO Max as like a B tier streaming service.
Yeah.
HBO Max is a little confused at the moment. There's some stuff happening, whatever. But like Paramount Plus, like, you can live without it, right? If you have to cut one, it's going to be Peacock or Paramount Plus, unless the Olympics are on. Like, that's just the way it is. So I think so. Then I wrote an article the next day because I decided that Eddie Q's explanation was actually better than I expected, which was everyone was just calling it Apple TV anyway. So we just changed the name to what people were using. And I'm usually a big opponent to rebranding because most companies just do it because they're bored. And I have 3 reasons you should rebrand. If your brand is associated with something negative, you should rebrand. Like Blackwater, the private militia group, they changed their name. I bet you don't know what it is, but you don't hear about Blackwater anymore.
That is true.
If you are changing significantly what your company or your product does, right, then it's okay to change what your brand is. Or if there's like confusion. If you've had a brand for a long time and you start to get bigger and suddenly people are like, wait, is this thing or what is going on? So other than that, you shouldn't. Unless you just change your name to the thing that everyone calls your thing anyway. And that, I think, is a pretty good reason.
I think it makes sense. The joke I made, this one I think was the most widely spread. I did Apple TV Plus, Apple TV Go, Apple TV Now, Apple TV Max.
I mean, Max is available.
And could I just say, Adam Botter, who's literally the director of product at HBO Max, replied and said, I feel attacked.
Yeah, well, I mean.
And honestly, that made my day. He now follows me and I follow him because I want to know what he's doing. But HBO Max is like the other example of.
It was HBO, then it was HBO Go, then it was HBO Max,
Now.
then it was Max, and then it's just HBO.
Unnecessary branding. The one thing I want to say, and then we'll move on, a lot of people on social media were like, if you have to defend Apple TV Plus and you say it's the new HBO, it's not the new HBO. Like HBO, like there's no comparison. HBO had incredible programming. And so to say Apple TV is the new HBO is like just false equivalency or like whatever. They're saying like that's a stupid argument. And I'm like, I get that. Also, HBO's been around for what, decades? Like 40 years, maybe 30 years. And they have a huge library of amazing shows that people will always call back to, like The Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones. So yeah, they've had a lot of hits over the years. They've also had a bunch of misses. And also recently, I mean, there's not as much culturally defining content, I think, on the service. And so the comparison to say Apple TV is the new HBO, I don't think is wildly out of touch. And a couple, like even if there's just a few examples right now, namely Severance, like most people, like it was called, like it entered the culture enough where I think most people know what it is and will get the reference. Severance is one of them. I think Ted Lasso made it to that level. I don't know of another show that might have broken through like culturally, like to the level of Game of Thrones or The Sopranos or whatever. But to say that right now, today, Apple TV is closer to like the HBO equivalent than HBO Max is now, I feel like that's a reasonable argument. I don't know. Does that?
Yeah, so I think that what people mean by that is that Apple is focusing on a small collection of very high quality programming,
Right.
which was HBO's prestige content thing for a long time. And I think the problem with the argument is if you have to say that's no, like you have to tell people what something is in order for them to understand why they should consider paying for it. And as popular in the cultural zeitgeist that HBO shows are, until there was a streaming service, most people who talk about The Sopranos have never watched The Sopranos because their parents didn't pay for HBO.
Same with The Wire.
right? Like
exactly.
you had to be paying for HBO on top of your cable bill in order to, like, we never had HBO. Like we did not have HBO kind of money at our house. We
Same.
had like basic cable, and that's fine.
Did you ever get like the week or 2 weeks where they would like give it to you for free?
I don't know, but I remember being at a hotel, and this is
sure.
in where they had HBO, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, I get to catch up on all these shows I've never been able to watch
and
before.
the movies too, because they would have like movies like way sooner than the TNT.
Yeah, absolutely,
or USA
because all the Warner Brothers movies were just on there. So, and with streaming, you could, but HBO, if you remember when HBO Max came out, it was insanely priced compared to everything else. It was like $15.99 when it dropped at the beginning, and you could get like Disney Plus for $7.99 or something like that. And it's like, and you get all the Marvel movies, right? Like, which you had to pay $30 a piece to watch.
Netflix was $12 or $10.
Yeah, it was cheaper at the time. And so my thing is like, no, I think that's actually that's a perfectly reasonable to say to people, because it is what Apple is going for. And the reality is Ted Lasso is the same. It is extremely popular in people's mind space.
Right.
But I think other than the fact that you can get a free 3-month subscription to TV Plus, or now Apple TV, when you buy an iPhone, or you just walk into an Apple store and you sneeze, they will give you that. Like, besides those free trials, like, most people have not paid for Apple TV. And so it is not at the same level at this point as HBO, because HBO, you're right, has such a long legacy, but that is absolutely the trajectory Apple is going. And interestingly, the trajectory that HBO is going is to Netflix.
Right.
It is.
Yeah, exactly.
And the trajectory Netflix is going is to YouTube.
Oh my! That was the trifecta.
And I mean, technically, the direction that that YouTube is going is TikTok. So we just complete the whole thing.
Well, but YouTube's doing both, though.
But if you publish a video, maybe not you, but if the average person publishes a video on YouTube and then publishes a short from that video, the short will have 15 times the views.
Not always, though.
The average person. I'm not talking about you, Steven.
I know, but also only because YouTube is also pushing to the TV as well, like with the biggest creators who have like millions of subscribers. They're trying to.
I'm not talking about people with millions of subscribers.
No,
I'm saying if you have 0 subscribers, you can have
No, I know.
Views.
I'm not talking about like from the user's perspective. I'm talking about like from the brand perspective. YouTube wants both and is pushing into both. They're pushing on shorts, and they also want big channels to be thought of as like TV shows. Like they changed the whole TV user interface for some channels to make it look like Netflix, basically, where it's like
they put 15 creators on Delta flights.
Right,
you can just watch 15 people on YouTube Premium on a Delta flight. You can't watch like Primary Tech on there. Unfortunately, well, you can. Just got to bring your own phone.
Right. Or if you can watch it on Netflix, we'll make the deal. We'll make the deal right now.
Make the deal. Yep, absolutely.
We'll
Steven, you don't even have to talk to me about it. Just
okay.
Apple Cash me some money.
What's the minimum? What's the minimum we'll take?
$1. I don't care, because it's about distribution. It's about distribution. Because we have to get in a deal. We got to get a deal with Spotify first. That's who needs to call us, because the Netflix shows are going to be the Spotify shows,
right?
And the Spotify promotions will still exist in those, but Netflix is not going to sell its own ads against it.
Okay, we have to talk about that now. So we're done with Apple TV.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let
Apple
us know.
TV is great, and so is the name. It's fine.
Leave us a 5-star rating review on Apple Podcast. Is Apple TV the new HBO? You let us know. Also, if you're watching anything on HBO still, what is on there anymore? I don't even know. White Lotus?
House of Dragon was on there.
Yeah.
The Last of Us season 17.
Last Apple thing I forgot. I wanted to mention there was an Apple in the the AI team. There was like an knowledge and answers and information team that they were working on inside Apple, and Qi Yang was appointed as the head of that team just a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure we mentioned it on the show. Well, it was announced yesterday. Well, Mark Bloomberg broke the story that he's now leaving.
Mark Gurman at Bloomberg. You just called him Mark Bloomberg.
Did I just call him Mark Bloomberg?
It's Mark Bloomberg and Tim Apple.
Mark Bloomberg.
I mean, he basically is the tech coverage at Bloomberg, but it just was pretty funny. I'm sorry.
That's good. So Gurman says, so that head now left for Meta. Meta just keeps poaching Apple's people over and over again. Did I say it again?
No, but you just said, it's funny. I'm sorry. You said that head just left. The rest of them stuck behind.
Listen,
the brain is gone.
Apple cannot hold on to someone in the AI department leading the department. Meta keeps poaching him. I'm just saying, Apple, stop it. Whatever you got to pay these people, pay them to stay. I'm sure it's money related. I'm sure
It's
just
100% money related.
It's
I
just
also
money.
think it's fine because I think that
Sora's
AI,
on iPhone.
I think this
Yeah,
is a bubble, and I
yeah.
think it's fine. Meta doesn't. There's a difference in incentives. Apple doesn't have. They need to get this right, but they don't need it in the same way that Meta needs it. So Meta's willing to pay a lot more.
Yeah. I
Apple's
get
going
it.
to keep selling iPhones no matter who makes the best AI. It would just be
fair.
nice if Apple made better AI. They're never going to make the best.
I saw a video, I forgot where it was, of someone comparing Siri on like a iPhone 5S or an iPhone 6 that still had like whatever the old operating system was to the voice assistant today. And it's pretty amazing just to see how badly it's gotten. Just
Yeah.
like simple requests that you could ask it literally years ago, and it's not doing it now. And like I understand, does it matter to Apple's bottom line? No, because you could just use the ChatGPT app on iPhone. But still, like in that mind space thing that we just talked about, people just see Apple and AI as kind of like whatever. Like it's almost like a joke. Like, does Apple have AI? No. Now, me over here in Shortcuts, I'm like, heck yeah, Apple Intelligence is great.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question for you,
That's nobody
Steven.
else.
What do you think? Yes, the assistant, it'd be wonderful if it was better and if you could just do things like that the email clients are adding AI where you can just be like, what time does my flight leave? And it'll just find the email and it'll tell you the answer. Like, yes, it should be able to do that on your phone. Like, no question. But there are only 3 things I've ever used Siri for, and it still does those 3 things just fine. Set a timer, a reminder, and turn on the lights. Like, it does those things flawlessly every single time and better than any other device or anything else is going to. I do wish it would also be like, add this to my calendar or find the appointment or look in messages.
And that used to be a thing it could do. Like you could ask it to add an event to your calendar, title, day, and time, and it would parse it. And you can't, like you can try to ask it now, but it's not work. But also the other thing everyone asks Siri to do as a HomePod is play music. And I can tell you from my kids yelling at the HomePod Mini in the bathroom, it cannot parse those music requests for anything. It just is totally like, who? What? Well, I'll just play this random song from an artist. And you who have like Google and Amazon devices, you know the accuracy on that's probably like 90-something%. Like you ask for a song, it plays it.
I've never asked an Echo to play a song, but I know my son does all the time. I will. The pro tip I will tell people is if you have Echoes at your home, the first thing we have 4 of them. And if I bought any other ones, the first thing you do is you turn on like the kids safety mode because it doesn't tell you ads every time.
All right. Speaking of kids safety, we'll try to do.
I'm trying to set you up for these.
That was great. That was perfect.
Transitions.
We'll try to do lightning round. Instagram, it's overhauling how teens experience the app, making it more PG-13. So teen accounts under 18, they're going to try and restrict, content that might be for more mature audiences or more sexual and not see it. And so trying to have that PG-13 rating system. Instagram's also been doing a ton just to like tailor teen accounts. Like that's been in the last year. You can like set an account as a teen account and have more, privacy controls over that. So Instagram's doing that. And also Spotify, that's not the article I wanted, but Spotify also is adding more parental controls, which has not been a thing before. And Spotify, if you didn't know, like Spotify, the app has all kinds of content. Like, I mean, there's just like vertically scrolling videos in Spotify.
Yeah.
It's not just music. And so they've added more, they've added managed teen accounts as well. And do your kids still use Spotify or do they move to Apple Music?
We're all on Apple Music now. I do want to say one thing about the Instagram thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're catching a lot of heat from the Motion Picture Association because they are not happy that Instagram is trying to make it seem as though the rating system is equivalent to movies. They did not ask for permission to use that, and they do not want to make it seem as though like the MPA has anything to do with it. And there's a big difference between screening, I don't know, 5 or 6 dozen movies a year. I don't actually have any idea how many movies they screen a year, but it's like a very finite number of movies, right? Like how many are made a year that they actually have to screen? Maybe a couple hundred, I don't know, compared to infinity content in your Instagram feed, right? Like literally there's an unlimited, and now it's going to even be more infinity. That thing because of like all the AI generated stuff, and so they're facing a little bit of pushback there.
Okay, interesting. And I found the article. I'll put this one in the show notes as well. But 9 to 5 Mac talked about the Spotify parental controls. It's rolling out. There's an explicit filter also playback of artists, and you can hide video and Canvas, so the short looping videos that accompany songs, which it is amazing. Like if you've not gone in the Spotify app, but your kid uses Spotify, you should see what's in there because the Spotify app has a lot of stuff. Plus all the video podcasts. I mean, we're in there as a video podcast, but there's video podcasts that are explicit and all that kind of stuff. So
ours is very PG-ish rated.
I think ours is PG.
Yeah, I was going to say PG-13, but I really don't think we're PG-13.
No, I said the D word in our unedited feed today because I was quoting a movie. That was it. But that's only for our unedited.
I don't even know what the D word is.
The Gone with the Wind.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Frankly, my dear.
Which D word did you say?
I don't want the explicit tag. I don't want
you dummy.
You dummy. Exactly. You dummy. Okay, so the Spotify Netflix deal. So Netflix is partnering with Spotify for some video podcasts, a select few, to actually be on Netflix. This has been rumored for like the last year that Netflix is trying to push more into the video podcast space. They want video podcasts there. Now, as you were reading or told me the details, so you're saying if a podcast agrees to this, they cannot be on other platforms? Is that
well?
Like an exclusive
Okay, let's
deal?
back up for a second. These are Spotify. These are podcasts that Spotify has the distribution deals for, right? So like this is stuff from The Ringer. A couple other things, conspiracy theories and serial killers. Is that the name of a podcast possibly? But anyway, so these are like some of their big name ones. And part of that deal with Netflix is that those podcasts then cannot post their entire show, like the full show, on YouTube as well. So they have to be, they're not exclusive, but these are there you go. There's
all the shows.
On YouTube, you can see the list of the shows. So yeah, conspiracy theories, serial killers, the Bill Simmons podcast, The Ringer, a bunch of that stuff. So, so this is only going to be a good deal for very, 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 very big shows, right? Because YouTube is essential for distribution for a lot of podcasts, and actually this morning on Stratechery, Ben Thompson was talking. Do you subscribe to Stratechery? I know you listen to Dithering. So if you pay for the whole bundle, you get the Stratechery podcast. But he was talking about this deal, and it's like the part of the thing is like YouTube is the single best discovery engine that there is, like because of their algorithm and putting your stuff out there and in over time growing, and podcasts themselves are incredibly good for generating, like our listeners are fantastic because most of them listen to us every single week, right? But we probably don't find a ton of new listeners in the podcast app. We probably find more new listeners in YouTube, right? And so for us, giving up YouTube, there's just no way we could do that at this point, right? Unless they offer us more than $1, and then we could talk. It's totally fine.
1 million of those.
Give us enough and we will talk. Just Apple Cash me right now. It's totally good. I'll leave the show in the middle. It's fine.
Jason disappears.
So I'll see you on Netflix, Steven. I got to go.
See you on Netflix. That's it. I still pay for Netflix just because I haven't finished The Stinking Crown. I need to turn that off. Anyway.
You know they make it really easy to just cancel and then come back when you're ready to watch The Crown.
You've literally written about that.
Literally just like a week ago.
I will give Netflix credit. It is very easy to cancel and come back.
One button, just there, cancel membership, and then when you're ready, you sign back in and you be like restore or whatever.
And they don't try to like upsell you to be like, well, do you want 3 months?
No, it's like you say cancel and then you say confirm because they want to make sure that your toddler didn't accidentally click the button.
Exactly. All right. More lightning round. Sam Altman tweeted the other day that they're going to be rolling out a new version of ChatGPT that allows people to have a personality, that allows ChatGPT to have a personality that behaves more like what 4.0 did. If you remember, there was some pushback when GPT-5 came out, and people didn't like the lack of personality it had. So that's going to be rolling out. But also at the very end of the tweet said that in December, this is Sam, I'm quoting from him, as we roll out age gating more fully and as part of our treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more like erotica for verified adults. And that was like, so it's going to be like that. Is that what you're saying? And Sam Altman had like a follow-up tweet, and he was like, I didn't think people were going to take it like that. It's like, you said erotica in the tweet, okay? I don't know how misinterpreted that could be. And so he tried to clarify it here. And basically compared it to like R-rated movies. Where's the movie association of the MPAA? Because he's using movie ratings here as well. So yeah, we'll see exactly what that means. This is in December, but Sam Altman just tweeting stuff. So
as he does, but the thing is, I don't think Sam Altman wrote this because there's a lot of capital letters in that tweet.
I was showing my son. He has a group chat with some friends, and I was asking him like, do you guys do all lowercase? like no capital in your text. And he said some do, some don't. And I said, yeah, Sam Altman does that. And so I pulled up Sam Altman's like Twitter feed, and I realized like some tweets are all lowercase, some have normal capitalization. And I did wonder, to your point, like, are some of these tweeted by like the team and some by Sam Altman? Or does he just copy and paste sometimes from what a team has sent him and doesn't take the time to like lowercase all the stuff? I don't know. I was reading a conspiracy into that. It's probably unnecessary. But also, the other ChatGPT news, you'll soon be able to just buy Walmart stuff in ChatGPT. So Walmart's going to partner with OpenAI. And so when you search and products come up in ChatGPT, you'll just be able to click buy and it will just ship it to you. And this is starting, I mean, you know, the dev day we talked about last week, there's OpenAI is going to be working with more apps that you can buy, like DoorDash, just buy stuff in ChatGPT. I think it's hilarious that this has come before Apple Pay came to Walmart. You still can't Apple Pay here in the U.S. at Walmart, but you'll be able to buy Walmart stuff from ChatGPT.
Yeah, they're excluding groceries from this, but the idea for this is OpenAI had introduced what they called instant checkout. So you check out right in ChatGPT. You never leave to go to another site. And they announced it with an integration with Shopify. But Walmart, we think of Walmart as like the big blue store with all the stuff. But Walmart also has this huge online marketplace of third-party sellers in the same way that Amazon does. And this is really the gold mine for those, because a lot of those sellers also sell their stuff on Shopify. Right? They have their own Shopify store or their own store using Shopify. And so Walmart is sort of locking down that as well. It's like, wait, these sellers are also selling here. Why don't we get that connection point? So yeah, it is interesting. It'll be interesting to see like if what Amazon does.
Right, exactly. And Walmart is a long time trying to be after Amazon with like 2-day shipping and stuff like that. So our last couple of things, Google VO 3.1 was announced, advanced capabilities in the Flow app. And, you know, if you thought AI generated video was good before, it's going to get even better, quote unquote, more realistic.
We're going to see more of it, at least, I guess.
I mentioned Hank Green last week when we were talking about AI slop, and he had another post the other day. He basically is showing like TikTok accounts where every video is AI generated. Every video has millions of views. People in the comments heatedly debating what's happening in the video as if it were real. And it's like, he showed this video of a dog. The video was like a lady supposedly burying her dog on Everest, which I'm like, come on, like let's try to put two and two together. But people are arguing in the comments like, oh, that was so wrong to bring your dog up to Everest. And it's like, do you not, like, this is the problem. Anyway, that's the problem. All right, last thing. Did you see these Microsoft rejected logos for Office?
I saw it. I did not spend very much time looking at it. So tell me what I need to know.
I'll just put these in the show notes. But basically, Microsoft released all the logo explorations for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, showing like the logos they rejected and the final logo for the new version of Office. And I don't know. I just want to give credit to whoever's at Microsoft designing these logos. I do kind of like some of these. You know, the final Word one seems pretty safe. It feels newish or whatever. They put themselves in Squircle jail, but more squarish. But anyway, you know, and they also have the Excel logos. That X one is pretty bold.
Yeah.
Trying to experiment with like cells and stuff. And then the PowerPoint ones, a lot of circular designs for PowerPoint, which for an app that makes rectangular slides, I feel like that's kind of interesting to have circular icons. But I don't know. It's cool. I think they did somebody on that team did a lot of nice work making all these logos. That's all. I just want to point that out. You don't use any of the Office stuff, do you?
I have Word on my laptop and my computer. I refuse to use PowerPoint for anything. I would use Keynote, obviously. Absolutely. Excel's fine. I think I probably also have Excel because, to be perfectly honest, if you have to do Excel things, Excel is still the best way. It's just not the most convenient way to do them.
Yeah. I mean, Excel is super powerful. Excel has like world championships or whatever in Las Vegas where people work the spreadsheets. Like, it's impressive.
But for just a typical, like, Google Sheets is fine for most spreadsheet things.
Right.
If you're a spreadsheet person, like, I hope I didn't just offend you, but for what most people need a spreadsheet for, Google Sheets is fine.
If all you're doing is a sum function at the bottom of a column. You can even do
pivot tables in Google Sheets. It's fine. But I'm just saying the biggest advantage is that Google Sheets also now has Gemini, and you can just be like, well, what does this spreadsheet mean?
I will say, too, Google Sheets has a wild ecosystem. I actually built a dashboard. I think it was using something called Gecko Board that was basically a service that would pull info from a Google Sheet, because you can make a Google Sheet public and then give that link to the service, and it would basically like show the data in like a nicely formatted UI. So like a sales team could have a TV on the wall in the office, and it like shows all the numbers. It's pretty wild what you can do. Which Excel with as a file on a desktop, there's not really that kind of integration. But maybe with iCloud. One other thing. Listener Jonathan actually sent us this article talking about, there's a lot of negatives with the AI advancements and AI slop, but AI is also improving how it could depict those possibly with disabilities. This is a former Australian Paralympic swimmer that she wanted to, mess around with her headshot, and AI couldn't really picture her or people like her just up to this point because it was limited into like the scope at which it could do. And so it is getting better at that. So those with disabilities can actually use these tools and actually get things that represent them more accurately. So, that's a positive thing if you want to use those kind of tools. Now, I see what you're typing into the bonus content, and I'm excited to get to
remember it for later.
I want to remember it for later. I have strong feelings about that.
Okay, good.
No, that's good. All right. Michael Caputo, he's a YouTuber. He's on social media. This is our personal tech segment. He was talking about updating your TV software and connecting it to the internet. And
well, okay, he was responding to something that I had posted.
Okay, you tell me. You set it up.
I'm trying to find where his post was, just since you're referencing him. But okay,
I'll find it.
Someone posted something about the Apple TV. Like, why would anybody ever need an Apple TV? Like, what is the point of an Apple TV? And I said the point of an Apple TV is so that you never have to, so that when you can turn off the Wi-Fi on your television, which is the first thing you should do anytime you ever buy a TV. You take it out of the box, you put it on the wall, and you turn off the Wi-Fi. Your TV should never try to do more than it did the day you took it out of the box. Like, literally, that's it. That is the life goal of a television, is to just do that simple thing, right? And people have feelings about this, Stephen.
So this is what you posted.
Yes.
On Threads.
Yes. And I have responded to almost all of the 116 comments. No, not all of them.
This one blew. I didn't realize this one blew up like this.
It blew up like insanity, Stephen. Like, all of my mentions for the last couple of days have just been full of people with feelings.
Thread loves your posts because they just incite violence.
They do. People are like,
violence.
What is even going on? And so I discovered that people have very strong feelings about it. And in fact, I feel like there is this underrepresented group of software engineers for television companies that have very, very strong feelings about this sort of thing. Now, I don't remember what Michael Caputo's exact post was, because my mentions have blown up so much and Threads does not make it very easy for me to
well, he just said this should be a podcast topic.
But yeah, so he was saying my response should be a podcast topic. So here we go. I do believe we've talked about this because several years ago, no, not several years ago, because we've only done this for 2 years ago, but sometime in the past, I posted a picture of our 55-inch Samsung television. Right. And I said, you know what I love about this television? We've had it for like 17 years. It has never once asked me to update its software, and it still works exactly as good as it did the day that we bought it. And people are trying to explain to me that, like, yeah, well, you have to update your software because the bug fixes, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, not if you never use the software. If you never use the software on your television. Also, why does your television have bugs? Like, seriously, think about that. You know what? Televisions have been around for a long time, and the ones that we have today are way better than the ones in the past. People are trying to tell me I bought terrible televisions. Listen, I have an LG G series. At the time, it was like the best television that you could possibly. Yeah, that one there. Like, that one had 200,000 views, Steven.
You're so good at rage bait without even trying.
I don't even understand. I just took a picture of a television, and my favorite one about this was like, dude, that television is definitely connected to the internet. I see apps. And I'm like, right. I plug an Apple TV into it. People are like, well, what if your Apple? And the funny thing was the people assumed that what I was saying is that your television is spying on you. And I could not care less. Like, if my television is spying on what I watch, I'm super not concerned about that.
No,
that's not the point.
No,
I don't care about any of that. I just don't want it to. What happens is you turn on your television to watch something, and the first thing it says is, "Are you ready to update your software?" And I just never wanted to do that, Stephen.
So I will say I bought dumb TVs for as long as I possibly could.
Yeah,
because there was a long time where you had the choice, like, do you want the smart TV features or do you want to save money? Which I was like, yes, give me the cheaper, dumb version because I have an Apple TV.
Right.
And I 100% opted for that. Now that's not an option. You
No,
cannot
now you buy
buy it.
smart TVs and you turn them into dumb TVs as quickly as possible.
Right. And so the only thing I want to do with the TV when I set it up is turn off motion smoothing.
Yep.
And then that remote goes away.
Yeah.
And that's it. And like you're saying, I don't want to be prompted for software updates. I don't need or want it connected to the internet because I have an Apple TV. Now, I understand for some people, a smart TV might be easier. Maybe you have a family or friend, relative that like managing multiple devices and remotes, and if changing the input on their TV is too much, I would still argue if all you have is an Apple TV and it's the only input that TV lives on, that should be fine. Like you should just be able to use the Apple TV remote and be done. But like my mom, she does go back and forth between the Apple TV and she has an antenna. Like I plugged in an antenna so she could watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, you know what I mean, on local broadcast. And so she switches the input and then uses the Apple TV for everything else. But when it comes to the actual smart TV features, if you have an Apple TV or a Google Chromecast or even a Fire Stick, I would not use the built-in TV software. It's usually slower. It's usually worse. I never want to be updated for a software update, prompted for a software update from my TV. And I like you're saying, I don't connect it to my Wi-Fi. And it doesn't yell at me. Like when I turn on my Apple TV and my TV turns on, it doesn't yell at me.
It doesn't even know. It's literally just taking a signal from one. It's doing a TV's job is to do one thing. It's to look beautiful. It's just look pretty. Be on my wall and look really, really good. And I bought a really nice TV. Like the G series is like the super skinny ones that are like really nice. And I just wanted a beautiful TV. And I just want to plug it into an Apple TV.
That's all it is. Just
and that's what I did. And so many people, somebody this morning was like, TVs have been little computers for many years. I'm like, that's not a benefit. That's not what they're for. Like guess what? I almost was going to make the reference to my studio display, but unfortunately that is a computer and does ask me for software updates. And I have no choice because it's got a little iPhone inside of it, just begging you to update the software. But like, I don't think it's controversial to say your TV should not be connected to the internet directly. And it should never ask you for software updates. And people are like, well, you could do the same thing with a Roku. I'm like, fine. Yes. Do a Roku, do a Fire Stick, do a Chromecast, do a GameCube, a PlayStation, NVIDIA Shield, or an Apple TV. Any of those things are fine. And yes, those things will need to update their software on some kind of a cadence. But you know what? My Apple TV has literally never once asked me to update the software. I don't know when it does it.
Yeah. It just knows.
Never bothered me.
Yeah, it just does it. So anyway, I'm curious, if you're a listener out there, viewer, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Do you connect your smart TV to the internet or do you not? And
please don't. Listen.
Yeah, please don't.
People are trying to tell me like somebody. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
No,
I just have one more thought, but go ahead.
I'm curious the argument if someone has an Apple TV and wants their TV connected to the internet. I'm curious why.
And the other nice thing is if you only plug it into like your Apple TV and you turn off the internet and you do all those things, literally every time I turn on my Apple TV, the TV's on the right channel, or the right input. I mean, I never have to like mess with any of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And I mean this like sincerely, because someone's like, well, you have to have it turned on for bug fixes and driver updates. I'm like, what driver updates? Someone explain to me what you think that means when in the context of a television. A driver is how the operating system operates with like a third party component, right?
Right. Like a printer.
There's nothing. And someone said to me,
printer into that USB port on your TV.
Someone said to me like, well, I really hope that Apple TV doesn't do an update thinking that your television has been Apple TV does not know what my television is. And there's literally never going to be, it's HDMI 2 point whatever. That's the standard between my TV and my Apple TV. Yeah. It's never going to happen. I promise you, listeners. I promise. Like, listen, I will stake my reputation on this. It will be fine. Disconnect the television from the internet. Your life will be better.
It will be better.
Get an Apple TV or get one of the free Fire Sticks that they will send you when you buy 3 Echoes and a whatever.
Yeah. I agree. We vehemently agree on this, Jason.
I love that for us.
TV. Yes. All right. I want to talk about buying refurb from Amazon. Can you just put that bonus topic in? I do want to play. We had 2 listener voicemails. We had an update from our friend Chris Peck. He was on the cruise ship last time, and then he sent us another voicemail.
Hey, Primary Tech Dudes. It's Chris Peck. I'm off the cruise ship and back home in Virginia on my flight. I was boarding. I looked up, and here's a gentleman sitting in an aisle seat sporting the Apple Vision Pro. No eyes detected. Just thought that was kind of cool. I'll catch you again sometime. Bye.
I'm glad Chris made it home.
Apple Vision Pro on an airplane. I'm just saying, Jason, you still got to try it. You got to try it.
That will be the thing that I will wear it on an airplane to California and then drop it off. That'll be the last thing I do.
They'll probably still make you ship it even if you're there in person.
Probably right. I don't know who I would give it to.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, and one more. This is from Jonathan, who sent us that article before, had some thoughts on AI slop, and he graced us with his accent as well. Here's Jonathan.
Well, hello, Jason. And, the other guy. I heard you were looking for some callers with a British accent, so I thought I'd give this a try to see what you thought. I live in America now. I'm in the Midwest, and I've been here for the last 20 years or so, but I was born and bred in Scotland, and I lived there half my life. So I hope there's some kind of lingering accent here for you to feed on. Anyway, a quick comment about the AI slop. I know you guys like movie quotes, and you've used this one before, but Sora and things like that remind me of that Jeff Goldblum quote from Jurassic Park, when he says, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." And it seems to me that a lot of the AI tools and advances that are coming out fall into that kind of bucket. Do we really need them? And I don't know if we always do. And maybe they will be useful in terms of that technology unlocking fantastic things further down the line, somewhere in the future. But right now it seems like they're doing things just because they can, and because they're flashy, or because it gets them some headlines and buzz that helps them raise more money for the company. Anyway, thanks for the podcast, Jason. I really appreciate your work and all the things you do. Give my best to the other guy. And battery percentage on.
Steven, I feel bad he didn't mention you at all. He mentioned me twice, though.
It was great. It was perfect. Thank you, Jonathan, for
and
that
yes,
great
you still
accent.
have a lingering accent.
Love the lingering
About.
accent. And I think, yes, that's another apropos quote. They could, so they didn't think if they should. So thank you for that, Jonathan. Send us a voicemail. That link in the show notes, you can leave us a voicemail. It'll be there. Whether you're watching here on YouTube or listening, the link is at the top. And you can also find our sponsors there. Leave us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Let us know, do you connect your smart TV to the internet? And we're going to go record a bonus episode about buying refurb from Amazon. And I have strong feelings about that. I don't even know what Jason's going to talk about, but I have strong feelings already. And so if you want to listen to that, get an ad-free version of the show, get Primary Tech Daily, get the unedited feed with our pre-show. Something just fell in here. That was a water bottle. You can support us at join.primarytech.fm or directly in Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.